Hi, and welcome to Just About Coaching. Today I'm going to be talking about habits. We all have some good habits, we all have some bad habits, and we need to be able to control what we do and work through the habits and make sure that what we're using and the way we're doing things, we're controlling the habits in a way that makes sure that life is better for us and for those people involved with us. You need to focus on what's important to you and get rid of the unimportant functions. You need to set yourself limits so that things can get done, and where possible, delegate and automate. It's critical when you start looking at the way you do things that you get into a habit, a routine. The more you can get into a routine and get things done on a routine basis, the smoother things flow. So we need to start looking at that and how do we achieve that. You might need to start looking at outsourcing some of your functions and tasks or certain areas to bring them in. If you don't have the time to do the garden, for example, hire a garden company to come in and trim things and keep things in order for you. Those are the type of things that you look at on a home life situation, but on a work life situation, you need to look at what would be more efficient to be delegated or to be outsourced and to be worked through to get the operation to run a lot smoother. We need to constantly remove things that limit our productivity and ensure that we're constantly looking at what inspires us. So we need to make sure that what we're doing we find inspirational, and we need to look at things to be able to do it. Now, that could be just a case of you looking at a picture of your missus, or you're looking at a picture of your kids, or it might be some music that you like listening to, or whatever it is, or reading a particular article or set of articles, whatever it is that inspires you, get behind it so that those things can be used to lift you up and to change your habits and be able to make sure that you're using things in the right way. You need to use time management skills effectively, set your deadlines, and ensure that you achieve your goals, and use a scorecard to measure your performance. I'm a very strong believer in everything in life should have a scorecard. How am I doing? This is what I set out to do. This is exactly what I need to do. Did I do it? And did I do it in what standard did I do it? Did I do it at 90%, 100%? How did I achieve it? You need to see that you can avoid interruptions and other time robbers. You need to give your mind and your body regular rests. Do one task at a time and reward yourself when it's completed. We need to constantly look to see that we can achieve what we're setting out to achieve. And again, just reward yourself. You finished, hey, great, finish that, go and have a cup of coffee. We always need to take cognizance of the fact that people do things at different paces. And we must never discourage anybody who continuously makes progress, no matter how slow. And that's a saying that comes from Plato. That's going back to 1870. So, it's one of those things that you need to look at and be constantly aware not everybody does things at the same pace as you. It's one of the arguments that you have about delegating to other people because they're not going to do it at the same pace as you, and you could do it quicker, but they're not going to learn if you don't do it. So you've got to get rid of those habits to be able to allow people to grow. Always try to help others, even when you know they can't help you back. So always be there for other people. Try and encourage people, try and help them, work with them. You can't change somebody who doesn't see issues in their actions. So if you come across somebody that's stubborn like that they can't see that they're doing something wrong, pointless trying to change them. They're not going to change. They're always going to do the same thing, and you've just got to either accept them or bypass them and ignore them in the future. We need to always constantly remind ourselves to look at issues from another person's point of view. Just because you're right doesn't mean that the other person is wrong. And I love the example when you write down a 6 on a piece of paper, and you accidentally turn it around and somebody else comes to look at it, they're going to see a 9. So who's actually right? It's the same number that you wrote, but looked at from different perspectives, you can have a different outcome. So we always need to take cognizance of that. We need to always try and live our lives within our own limits. Don't use other people's set of standards. We mustn't try and copy them or mimic them, and we don't need to try and live their lives. The questions that they need to ask in life are not the same questions that we get asked. So the answers that are going to be given are going to be different. So if you try and mimic them, what happens and the answers that you give are going to be different because it's a different set of circumstances, a different way of doing things. And you need to look at it from everybody's perspective and take into account that you cannot mimic them and you don't want to mimic them. You're your own person. Work with yourself. Be proud of yourself. Work within your own limits and do the best you can at all times. The Just About G team thanks you for watching Habits, and we hope you enjoyed it, and there's quite a lot more in the series. Should you want to see any more of our information about the business we do, our coaching, our consulting, our training, please go to www.justaboutg.co.za, or if you want to join our coaching family, go to www.justaboutg.jacoaching.html. We also run, in the training side of things, we run a whole series of courses where we have mini courses which are an introduction to each of the subjects, and then the full premier course which you can get really involved in the subject. I thank you very much and look forward to chatting to you in the future.